We got a lively bunch here. We gotta work on this. Okay. What's that? Okay. All right, so we are going to bring this regular meeting of our Board of Education to order at 6:03 on Wednesday, October 18th. You can have a roll call, please, for the board.
Yes, Dr. Michael Thomas,
Present.
Laura Dowden,
Present.
David Shepherd,
Present.
Rachel Merrickwin,
Present.
Denise Jones, yes, Mike Wallmiller,
Present.
Colleen Clemzak,
Present.
all are accounted for.
Great.
Present.
Thank you. If we could stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
If my board could review the agenda that is in front of them, and if it is no changes to be made, if there are no changes to be made, if I could have a first to accept the agenda?
Motion to approve the agenda?
And, oh, you guys are good. And a roll call, please.
Yes. Michael Thomas?
Yep.
Mike Wallmiller?
Yep.
Denise Jones, yes. Rachel Merrickwin?
Yes.
David Shepherd,
Yes.
Laura Dowden,
Yes.
Colleen Clemzak,
Yes.
motion passed.
Great. Staff reports.
Great. Well, my first staff report is just beyond exciting as I see all these smiling faces in our audience. What could they be here for? Is it the cupcakes? Probably.
Always.
So I am so excited to introduce our CMS softball team because they were just unbelievable stars this school year. So in honor of their celebration, I'd like to welcome up our coaches who led and facilitated them to their final leadership. So Sarah Tobin, I know, is here. Hi, Sarah. I believe I saw Miss Ann Magnus. Are you also speaking? Or? You're here for your honor award. And then Michelle, are you Michelle?
Yes.
Okay, so
Yeah, so we just had a quick couple of shout outs and thank yous. So first, thank you to Dr. Z, I saw him somewhere in here. And Dr. Woodland and the whole school board for inviting us to this meeting in order to acknowledge the terrific softball season that we had. So this year, the girls softball team was undefeated in the regular season, going 11 straight wins, and then ended our season still undefeated. Through playoffs and the tournament, ending 14-0 with a super exciting walk-off home run win in the championship. So. To a great season. So we just wanted to say thank you to each and every one of our players, those that could be here and those that couldn't, because it was your attitudes, your commitment, your focus that made it such a successful year, but also a really fun year for both of us to work with you guys every day. And our final thank you goes to the parents, because it's also your commitment that made the season possible, driving everyone to every practice, every game, bringing water, snacks, food, and shoes when we forgot them. So really, truly, like, you guys are what makes these programs possible, and it's your commitment to your daughter's development, and trust in us to lead their softball journey. So we just really wanted to say thank you. We're extremely proud of you guys and all you accomplished this year, and we can't wait to see where you go next. So thank you.
And Sarah and Michelle, if you would help us with one more thing. So we actually have certificates of special recognition for each one of our players, and we want to make sure that we honor you appropriately. So I'm going to ask you if you can help us read names.
Sure, yeah.
So our first one.
Emmy O'Rourke. So you can come up and get your
Congratulations, sweetie.
Congrats, Emmy.
She is here.
Casey Casey Normoyle. Is Delaney is not here, but Delaney Phelps. Ella Garvin. Evelyn Kowalczyk. Ashlyn Dawson. Congratulations. Shelby Izzo. Brooklyn Walzak. Marilyn Holman. Lainey Shillo. Melanie Webster. Tatum Davis is Molly Goike. Congratulations. Addison Merskos.
Was it close?
Cassidy Butler is Michelle Busco. Myself. And Magda. So of course we cannot forget Anne. Thank you again.
Yes, and of course there are cupcakes, and you are all welcome to stay for the remaining portion of the board meeting. However, if you would like to leave, you are also welcome to leave.
We take a cupcake.
So thank you so much. Oh yes, let's do a group picture. Yes, absolutely. Take your certificate.
Remember, Claudia to line us up, right? Okay.
Line up, let's have
To me and I'll send it to you.
Oh.
I think we're gonna need to go 2 rows.
I'm actually taller. The adults might need to come behind.
Casey's short. Ella, you're short.
We're gonna have to make 2 rows.
Let me come front.
Okay, we all established that the adults are short. Except for Dr. Thomas and maybe David and
Melanie, you're gonna need to come forward.
I know, they're all tall. I even wore my boots today.
You guys like squat a little bit. Abby, you might need to go up there front too.
I always bend my one knee, Michelle.
Yeah.
Squat. Sorry, school board is short, ladies, so we can't help it. Here we go, down on one knee is great. All right. 1, 2, 3. Hold it. 4 other people. I want one of the team. Thank you. Good job. Well done, ladies.
Good job, ladies.
Well done.
Congratulations. Thank you, Sarah.
Yeah, it was very
That is awesome.
Alright, go get it.
That's it, grab a cupcake. Easy peasy, right? And suddenly it's quiet. And that's okay, not that they were noisy. We're missing some. I wouldn't want to sit here either. Like, yep, we're missing some seats now. 14 and 0. That's amazing. That's remarkable. That is a lot to be proud of. Like, I know. I think last year they were.
I saw a video.
They were down 2 with 2 outs.
That's fabulous. And it was the fun part. I mean, the rest of it's fun too.
Everything's fun.
Everything's fun. Okay. But I'm gonna continue.
Go with the
I'm gonna continue because Rachel will yell at me by 9 p.m. understandably. Shall we? Is that okay? Okay. So, next up is teachers. Yeah. Did you get head? Nice.
All right. So next on our agenda, I am so excited to recognize recognize our teachers earning tenure. So first up, we have Tiffany McKnight, third grade teacher at Southeast.
Lorenz, it used to be Knight, so McKnight is needs to be
Oh, she got married, that's right.
Lorenz.
Okay, we will correct her name and give her a new
She's still got
certificate.
10 years.
All the most important thing is it still sticks. Okay, so we'll
Thank you.
put that away, okay.
I do
gives us a
see in the
chance to-
audience though, Miss Maura Hall, I'd like to
Yes.
welcome you up here. Miss Maura Hall, would you like to come up? She's a first grade teacher at Northwest. And we are so excited to offer you tenure and celebrate your service here at Evergreen Park.
Thank you. Thank
Thank
you,
you.
amazing. First graders.
So much.
Thank you.
Okay. Okay, next up, I did see Miss Rosanna Enriquez. Hi, Rosanna. Rosanna is a social worker at Central Middle School. So congratulations, Rosanna. You can come on up. We are so excited to continue with your services here at Evergreen Park. Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you. Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And next we have Miss Ann Magnus. That is why she's here, right? Yeah. So Ann. And softball. She really did both, right?
It's the Ann meeting. She's got it all. Do you want to get any other reports? Because you could just.
Want me to read something?
You will. I got a lot to read tonight.
So congratulations on earning tenure. Thank you so much. And then Michelle Ruckling is our last teacher.
She's not here right now.
No, that's no worries, no worries. So we of course will deliver all of their certificates to those that could not make it, and we just want to make sure we honor them here tonight.
Great.
Next up on our agenda is our Principal Appreciation Day. So actual Principal Appreciation Day, according to the IPA, is this upcoming Friday, October 20th. So a strong building principal wears so many hats, and assistant principal. They assist our students, our teachers in so many ways. They wear a heavy weight on their shoulders, making difficult decisions, not just because they have to, but because they choose to. I firmly believe that being a principal is a calling, and each of you have been given this gift of service. They are brave, they are kind, they are compassionate, they are caring, and they care deeply about our students and our staff. These sacrifices came in so many forms, including giving up their own family time, their own free time, and self-care to serve others. The principal team, better known as the Dream Team, is a gift to D124, and in honor of celebrating them today, we have a small gift that is only a small bit of appreciation. Our theme for this year as an administrative team was to be brave, and with all of you, you wear a heavy weight, so I thought it would be appropriate for you guys to have a bag that demonstrates all the weight that you carry. And on here is your theme that says the Dream Team and Be Brave Together. So I would like to welcome each of you up at this time to collect your little token of our appreciation. I know it's not anything that we could do to say that we are so grateful. And come on, Carrie, I know you want to come and bring your
And Christina and Joe and Matt and like, come on. Yes. Don't be shy. Carrie's like, why me?
Alphabetically.
B.
For Barry.
B, yeah.
So thank you so much, Carrie,
And
for all of your
Northeast,
service.
Right.
Right.
Thank you,
I'm
Kathleen.
giving you bags today.
Thank you, Megan. Thank you so much.
Everyone loves a good bag.
Thank you, Matt. Dr. Manick, thank you so much. Thank you. Yes, yes.
You're smart.
Thank you.
Yes.
She's nice.
She's nice.
And we also do not have like a Principal's Day for my cabinet members, so I thought it would be appropriate for Eric, Becky, and Patricia and Amanda, who also serve on our administrative team, to also get a bag. So I'd like to welcome you up to collect your bag as well. There's no HR month, sorry, Patricia.
Every month is HR month. Maybe every month is
Thanks, A-Ray.
school business administrator, not
Yeah.
So
Yeah. To read a resolution now?
I was gonna give it as my gift to not read it, but I guess I will.
Right, oh, Dan, you're on my team too, why didn't you come up?
He's already kind of up towards the front. So I have a proclamation to read.
Julie's in the back too, guys. You're on my team.
We're on the dream team.
Dream team members.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. So, I am going to read a proclamation from, the governor, which is kind of cool. Okay, whereas school principals play an integral role in the education and growth of children in elementary, middle, and secondary schools across the state of Illinois. And whereas school principals are responsible for promoting education and building relationships with teachers and parents to ensure that each child receives equitable educational opportunities and services to reach their potential. And whereas a primary responsibility of the state of Illinois to preserve and improve resources for schools so that all students have access to quality education and a foundation for a successful future. And whereas the Illinois Principals Association, which represents over 6,200 educational leaders statewide, believes that learning is a lifelong process and that the education of our children is the highest priority. And whereas school leaders face many obstacles in supporting and educating our young people, and it is through their perseverance, passion, and hope-filled leadership that Illinois continues to produce quality, career-ready students. And whereas we must continue to encourage, support, and recognize our school principals who have a positive impact on Illinois students and the educational system in the land of Lincoln. Therefore, I, J.B. Pritzker, Governor of the State of Illinois, do hereby proclaim the week of October 15th to the 21st, 2023 as Principals Week, and Friday, October 20th, 2023 as Principals Day in Illinois, to recognize principals and the Illinois Principals Association for all that they do to help our children learn and succeed. In witness heretofore, et cetera, et cetera. Thank you all. You are our dream team as well. You know how fortunate we are.
Right. Next, I would like to invite Julie up to talk about our National School Lunch Week. I was informed you're talking about it.
Pardon me?
I can help you talk about it.
Sure can.
It's the Anne and the Julie show, right? So now we've got a
You wanna
couple
join
people
me up here?
repeats.
No, I can sit right here and help you talk about it, I assure you.
I don't have anything to say about National Lunch Week, other than the fact that we are doing pretty good in the kitchen, I think. And we're coming out with new items to have the kids try. We're gonna try, in January, we are looking to get a breakfast grant to try new breakfast items. And I'm hoping to maybe open it up for the teachers
Okay.
come January.
For breakfast for
Something new
teachers?
for breakfast.
Did the teachers hear that?
Wow,
That's
they
awesome.
heard that, now we gotta do it, Julie.
But there's no delivery service, so.
So you're not just maintaining, you are progressing,
Progressing,
which is great.
yes.
That's awesome.
Yes.
Thank you.
All right, thank you so much. So the National School Lunch Week is really focused on ensuring that students have the nutrition and food that they need to successfully be educated. And so we want to always honor our food service department as well as honor our students to making sure that they have the necessary nutrition to live a happy life. And there are some kids unfortunately that aren't given that opportunity, and we want to make sure we provide that for them here. So thank you so much, and we really appreciate you.
Thanks for
Thank
all
you.
you do.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, next on our agenda is our update from our curriculum and instruction department, and we have Miss Amanda Hattar, who's gonna give the board updates on our diversity, equity, and inclusion work.
I also brought Miss Leah Burns to speak on this as well, so thank you.
Thank you, Leah, for coming.
Welcome. Yeah,
Welcome.
thank you so much.
That right there. All right, so I'm going to, as you can see, there's a lot of pictures on the screen. I'm gonna update, as well as Leah, on what the principals and assistant principals have done in each of their schools to celebrate Hispanic Heritage Month. So as you can see with Northeast kicked off Hispanic Heritage Month with an assembly. They played Latin American music and invited students to dress in cultural clothing to represent their culture. Mrs. Carrie Berry spoke to the students about how learning about one another's different cultures and customs builds respect and rapport. During Workout Wednesday, students learned salsa. Morning announcements include Hispanic hero biographies and pictures on bulletin boards, and students participated in a Hispanic hero scavenger hunt. Books on display in the library for the students to check out, and the hallways were decorated with artwork and flags. At Northwest, in art class, fourth graders made paper sugar skulls and second graders drew Columbia-inspired homes. Also, both of the North schools are creating ofrendas. Miss Emily Arenas completed Hispanic Heritage Month projects with her students. They will be presenting on them tomorrow. Families will be joining and watching the presentations. Next slide. So the South School, Southeast, Miss Diana Guzman students are reading Planting Seeds, The Life of Librarian and Storyteller Pura Belpre, I believe. They use this read aloud to learn about Pura's life and create a timeline with the most important events from her life. The students even learned some Spanish words like abuela, vida nueva, and cuentos. They also read about Brazilian soccer player Pelé and had some great discussions about how students can overcome challenges and be successful if they persevere. Also, Miss Tracy Ferguson, EL teacher, did a Frida Kahlo lesson. And then Southwest, at one of the front hallways, there is a Celebrate Hispanic Heritage wall. Southwest highlighted one individual a week and shared that information with the school during announcements and on the wall. The school librarian put together a display of books celebrating Hispanic Heritage Month, and the students loved picking a new book each week. The lunchroom supervisor, Miss Alonzo, is from Puerto Rico and shared some of her own heritage on the wall outside the kitchen. The social worker, Mrs. Flores, and PE teacher, Mrs. Rowe, led a salsa lesson during Workout Wednesday. A lot going on.
Yeah.
All right,
Got
so
a salsa
Central.
lesson from my daughter that day too.
Oh, nice, that's
She
great.
could actually do it, I was pretty
That's
impressed.
really cool, she learned a lot, I love that.
In my sixth grade social studies class, students engaged in a gallery walk that explored different primary sources that connect to Hispanic heritage in the United States. They began by discussing the theme of Hispanic Heritage Month this month, which is prosperity, power, and progress. They discussed an example of a person who demonstrates prosperity, power, and progress within the Hispanic community, Dolores Huerta. Then students utilized the Library of Congress method by observing, reflecting, and questioning when interacting with each of the primary sources during a gallery walk. Students thought about the essential question as they were going throughout their stations and ultimately returned to this essential question at their exit ticket. What rich cultural contributions do Hispanic Americans bring to the United States? In Mr. Martin's sixth grade class, students connected with Dr. Andres Galindo Oyarte, a mathematician from Colombia who now works at the University of Texas. He sent Mr. Martin's students a video introducing himself to them. The students then came up with a series of questions to Dr. O about his career path, coming to the United States, the influence of his Hispanic heritage, what he hopes to do in his future, and if they had any advice. We're still waiting on his video response.
That's pretty amazing though. That is amazing,
Yeah.
I love that.
In seventh grade social studies, did a Hispanic Heritage Month activity. Math weaved in baking and family traditions aligned with Dr. Yvette's examples. ELA students completed a lesson that included an article written by a Latinx author, and gallery walk quotes were taken from famous influential Latinx and Hispanic people. Eighth grade social studies students learned about Hispanics in the Civil War. Advisories and admin shared the October celebration slide information created by Amanda Hattar during advisory and morning announcements. And finally, Mrs. Cruz collaborated with teachers and students to color flags and create a beautiful wing mural inside the library.
Amazing.
And then I'm gonna wrap it up with both Southeast and Northwest schools. Miss Juliana Morales celebrated Hispanic Heritage Month with kindergarten, first and second grades by reading stories from Latin America, completing graphic organizers on characters, settings, and plots, and by coloring flags of the region. Students from 3rd, 4th, and 5th grades, as well as from the lower grades, were allowed to speak about their families and the countries their families came from, and or if they have visited in Latin America.
Nice.
Because apparently, there's a good number of students who come from Mexico, Guatemala, and Salvador.
I love that.
Okay.
Great.
Students
Those are-
teaching students.
Yes, of course.
Awesome.
100%.
Well, Leah, I have heard just amazing things about the lesson that you provided to your students, so thank you so much and for reporting out on that tonight. And Amanda, I know you have more to share, but I don't think Amanda's giving herself enough credit in terms of making sure that this was implemented on a district level and just consistent implementation. So for example, Amanda did attend team meetings at Central to provide teachers with feedback if they need additional resources, and she also provided all staff with a slideshow presentation on what to celebrate so that they all had a reference point. So, thank you.
And I saw Leah's lesson in person, and it was actually really good, so.
Which is why you're here tonight. Yeah, that's great.
Thank you, Leah.
Thank you both.
I have a little bit more. Aside from Hispanic Heritage Month, I just wanted to give an update about what's been going on in the equity world, what other things have been happening. And so I do want to share, the foundation of executing and implementing equity work properly starts with the connections that are made both internally within the district and externally with the community and organizations. And that's where this work has started. So when I first started this role, I was eager to get in an equity network so I could meet people and get into the world of gaining resources for this district. And I'm very thankful I got introduced to Dr. Vicki Trotter, who welcomed me to the DuPage network called Equity and Excellence, which I have gone to and I will continue to go to because I've met some amazing people and have gained a lot of resources. However, as you know, Evergreen Park is not in DuPage. So I quickly found out that South Cook does not have an equity network. And South Cook services 66 school districts and 5 co-ops, so that's a lot of schools, and we don't have an equity network. Yeah, I thought the same thing too. So I got in contact with the network coordinator at South Cook, and I was like, hey, we need to start one. So we started one, and I started an equity network. Our first meeting is gonna be November 30th, so I'm really excited about that. And I actually like the name of it. I'm calling it Equity Unleashed. So I was like, that sounds cool, right? So I'm trying to recruit for that and get people to come and to attend that. But I think it's important for us to have a space to share ideas, resources, and conversations to know what's going on in all the districts and how we can support each other. So that's happening at South Cook. Another way of forming these connections is by getting in contact with colleges and universities. This is important so that our district starts cultivating culture with student candidates before the student candidates walk through our doors, and for us to attract, hire, and retain highly qualified, diverse candidates. They need to see our faces, know our name, and recognize our brand. The colleges shown on the screen is where we have started. So starting off with Illinois State University, and Miss Rebecca Tyrell and I, yes, we'll be going down there to Normal so that we can attend the Education Career Fair. Miss Patricia Roberts and I attended the UIC Diversity Fair on October 4th. I contacted Nikki Mercer at University of Illinois in Urbana-Champaign, who connected me with the hybrid EIU and UIUC Career Fair. She added our name as partners for student teaching placements, and I will be participating in their virtual career prep on November 16th to do mock interviews with students. I also contacted Bridget Burns at Dominican University. She has added us as partners for student teaching placements, and now we have a Spanish student teacher for next semester. I also connected with Kathy and Danya Ode from DePaul, Catherine Wyckoff from Northeastern Illinois University, which, by the way, when I called Catherine, I was like, hey, Catherine, you know how I used to always take on your student teachers? I need a favor now. So it was cool.
Perfect.
And Paige Rogers at Trinity for student teaching and field placements. I have also connected with Lakeisha Hillard from Chicago State University for student teaching placements, hosting career development workshops, and I'll be attending in-person education events. I actually have one tomorrow, and they're branding it as a day party, so I'm like, interesting. We'll see what goes on here. And my latest connection is with Governor State, where I will be meeting their staff through their multi-series called Advancing Equity-Minded Leadership. So that's the colleges so far.
Amazing.
Thanks.
Wow. You started a new organization because you needed
She forgot to mention she's leading it.
I get that, grasp that.
It wasn't happening and now it's
You have a
happening.
co-partner, but
Is
you're
that gonna
leading
happen
it.
at the South Cook ROE?
So I'm designing the first one to be virtual.
Okay.
And actually the second two beyond that might be virtual too, just to see the numbers. And I wanna get feedback from who registers. And then the last one is gonna be in person.
Okay.
Yeah. And I actually, at the dinner yesterday, I met someone that I'm like recruiting for this. So if you know anyone. All right, next thing, just a couple more things, I'm sorry. I collaborated with our wonderful Evergreen Park public librarians, Laura, Mary, and Jenna, to create a diverse book list for our parents, teachers, and students to use. This digital tool encompasses the racially and culturally diverse lives and experiences of all students. All books have been categorized by grade levels, K through 2, 3 through 5th, and 6 through 8. The books are linked to the Evergreen Park Public Library website to check for book rental availability, as well as links for audio and video access. My next collaboration with the Evergreen Park Public Library will be with Mary Black for the Black History Month Reading Challenge, and that program starts January 22nd and will go through the month of February. And then last slide, here we go. All right. For our teachers and students, I create and share monthly celebration slides. These slides share each month's celebrations, observances, and culturally significant days. There are pictures, videos, and articles linked to each date. Starting for November, however, instead of just sending out these celebration slides, I will be sharing a monthly newsletter called Evergreen Equity that includes these slides as well as other culturally relevant information. The newsletter will include updates and announcements, that month's resources, including the celebration slides, books, resources for lesson planning, fun interactives, free resources and materials, and teacher shout outs and acknowledgements of what they did for the previous month's culturally significant days. So November's newsletter will acknowledge the teachers that have done things for October, which was more so Hispanic Heritage Month. Teachers will also be receiving equity trainings at each school with Dr. Yvette Dubell and myself starting next month. We will focus on the district's equity action plan and culturally responsive teaching strategies so students can see themselves and their peers in the lessons they learn in class. Two more things for teachers. Dr. Woodland found a great event that teachers were invited to. It actually took place last night, which was the SSASBE dinner, South Suburban Alliance of Black School Educators. And lastly, teachers are invited, as well as others, to next week's first DELT meeting of the year, the District Equity Leadership Team. For students, Miss Melissa Dominich at Central is starting a multicultural club so students have a space to advocate for their culture and organize events. And I think that's awesome that she's starting that. So the first meeting will be in November. And last but not least, I have connected with two local organizations, Latinx DLN, Digital Leaders Network, and the NAACP Chicago FAR's Southside Suburban Branch to gain resources for our students and families. Latinx DLN provides digital literacy for parents, and they assess families' need for internet service so they can provide it for free or at a discounted rate. The NAACP Chicago branch is connecting me with individuals that can speak at our parent education nights. We discuss getting speakers for mental health, behavior, and attendance awareness for the parent nights. Also, parents will have access to all our DEI resources that will be uploaded to our new DEI part of the school website. Parents will be able to click on the DEI English or DEI Spanish to view all resources, and they will be greeted by a "Why is DEI important?" which our board president and superintendent have participated in.
Really?
Wow. Good golly.
That's
I'm tired and I
Thank
didn't
you.
do
Right.
it. Oh my gosh. Remarkable.
Thank you to the Board of Education for approving a person to support this. I mean, I think that's what, when you really hit the rubber with the road and really have someone to help lead and facilitate the work. So I'm just so pleased and impressed. I know we have a long road to go, but I definitely believe we're on the right track.
Thank you.
Our 1,800 students and those in the 66 other districts that you'll also be starting that conversation with appreciate you, so. Awesome.
I also have a contact at EIU as well as Illinois State and University of Illinois, where they focus with diversity, equity, inclusion.
So I'm gonna be talking to you.
And we can talk.
I appreciate it. Thank you guys.
Thank you so much.
Hi.
All right, our next update is from Miss Rebecca Tyrrell, our Student Support Services Department.
Hello, hello.
Okay, so first I'm gonna go over our Institute Day that we had. So just a little bit about the Student Support Services Department on our October 6th, I feel like it was a million years ago. Institute Day, in the morning, we all came together here at district office. So similar to what I presented last month at the Board of Ed meeting, I did a special education committee planning update. So again, invited like all of our subcommittee chairs to kind of come up and go through those slides. So our department specifically knew exactly the vision and mission of each subcommittee, the short and long-term goals, some of the action steps, and then the data collection. And then after we reviewed each subcommittee, we kind of did a reflection and discussion, so kind of turn and talk to your table mates about like how that applies to your specific role. Obviously, the department has a number, we have our teachers, whether they're resource teachers, self-contained teachers, or structured learning program. We had related service providers there. And we also had our paraprofessionals there. So, kind of looking at each subcommittee, how that applies to their role, and then we kind of ask them to turn and talk about, besides staffing and personnel, like what are their supports or training or resources you think we could use to like reach those goals. Along with like turning and talking and sharing out, we also had them fill in some of that information in a survey. So the majority of the responses, no matter what they were, teachers, related service staff, or paraprofessionals, included more collaboration time. So more collaboration time between like general education, special education teachers, more collaboration time between teachers and related service providers, teachers and paraprofessionals, a lot of training or more support in regards to the area of behavior, especially for individual students, or just overall like classroom management. So those were the trends that we saw with those responses. We also did a little bit, our AM session was kind of packed. So one of the things that we hear a lot about, especially in the context of like special education, is how many things that people have going on, or how much there is to do, and how to manage their time. From planning for instruction to, again, like collaborating with gen ed teachers or related service providers on individual students, completing IEP paperwork and developing those goals and objectives for students, and then obviously communicating with parents. It's just a lot to fit in. A day, a week, a month, a year. So we kind of went over two different techniques for task management. We went over the Eisenhower technique, which is to the left, and the Pomodoro technique, which is to the right. So the Eisenhower matrix really is kind of dividing your tasks up into 4 quadrants, as you can see. So urgent, not urgent, important, not important. And then the Pomodoro technique is really like kind of listing your tasks, my favorite, queen of the sticky notes, and then allotting like specific amount of time for each task. So for example, 25 minutes is like typical, and you'd say like 1 Pomodoro. So if you have something you're doing, it's gonna take you 2 Pomodoros, and then you have a break. What's interesting about the Pomodoro method is, you know, all the other little bitty things that come up throughout your day, making sure you're adding those to your task list so you account for them. Because I think that, you know, me being the queen of the sticky notes, I'll have a million things written down, and yet even though I did a million things, I might not have accomplished one of those on those lists. So like really accounting for everything that you're doing. We also gave people the opportunity to kind of turn and talk, and then share some task management techniques that work for them, and then gave them some opportunity to kind of sort through. We had obviously asked them beforehand to bring some like work and for some of the things that we were doing, but kind of sort through and like use that technique to kind of write down and plan a little bit too. So giving them the opportunity to do that. And then also we've, after we did that, there was some time allowed to really have our special education teachers sit with some of their paraprofessionals and do a little bit of planning as well. So that was a really, really busy morning session. In the afternoon, we kind of divided and conquered. Our special education and related service providers stayed here, and then as part of our subcommittee, the high quality IEP rubric that we developed for goals and objectives, we kind of reviewed and went through the rubric piece by piece, and then went through examples of the examples that we pulled from and kind of graded some of those goals and objectives, and had like a huge discussion with our staff and related service providers. So kind of starting that work. We are fortunate to have Dr. Jen Dale, because like one of the things as part of the IEP, the HQ IEP subcommittee is possibly like piloting or like looking into some resources and tools to support teachers and related service providers in writing those goals. And Dr. Jen Dale actually had a tool that she could show them, which really was very interesting and very amazing actually in regards to how it could support you. Like, since we asked teachers to bring in data, they were able to kind of give her examples of some of their students' present level data, and it was able to kind of develop some goals and objectives, and like also like mild, moderate, and significant like scaffolding of skills. So it was really interesting. In regards to our department, myself and their 2 case managers are actually meeting with them provider next week to kind of talk about in depth what that tool looks like, and obviously what that tool costs and things like that. So I think it was good for people to have time to collaborate even with like, each other, and ask questions about the rubric and talk through some of those things. Especially when we're talking about you know, some of those prerequisite skills that you might need when you're developing those goals and objectives. And then our paraprofessionals were at Northwest working on some of their Infinitec training. I'm not sure if you guys know, but we have lots of trainings from Infinitec that we have to do, so allowing them to have that time. I was fortunate that Sonia was able to kind of pull up where all our paraprofessionals were in completing that. So the vast majority of them obviously had not completed the majority of them, so that really should have knocked out, allowing them that time should have knocked that out for them. So, and then our health services department, they were preparing for, I say exclusion prep, but we know that students are required to have their physical and their shots by a specific date, which Monday was the date. So the past couple PLCs or time they've had to be talking about like how many communications that they've had to parents, how many students that they've had still like requiring or missing those physicals or shots. So they were just prepping for that because the exclusion date was this week. So that's what our health services department is doing. So, any questions about any of that information?
That was a busy day.
It was a busy day. Always busy. I'm also gonna talk about our LEA determination review. So this is the Illinois Special Education Accountability and Support System. So every year, we get the report with our findings on specific areas. So it's really an accountability system that is through the state that is make sure that we're following like IDEA federal regulations in specific areas. It's kind of moved away from more compliance and it's kind of supporting districts in regards to like tiered level of support. So we'll kind of go through and touch on the specific areas that we're focusing on, which actually really tie into our subcommittee work that the Special Education Committee is doing. So if you look at our special ed outcomes, and I'll talk about like the specific areas. So for example, indicator 6 is our EC service delivery. So the state targets at 47%, and when you're talking about the EC service delivery, you're really looking at our regular early childhood programs, so our pre-K at risk programs, and the amount of students receiving the vast majority of their special education services in gen ed versus out of gen ed. So in 2021, we were at 30%, and 22 we were at 16%. So significantly lower than where we want to be. We are considered, this is an area that needs assistance. What we did actually is kind of dove into our IEP data to kind of look, and we found an error in our services page, our educational services page, and how they were how our teachers were coding our minutes. So for example, if a student has an academic goal in our pre-K classroom and they're in the pre-K classroom is a general education classroom, our teachers were indicating that they were receiving 775 of their instructional minutes in special education, yet they're not receiving 775 instructional minutes of special education. They're only receiving how many minutes we're targeting that goal. So what we did this past Friday was meet with our entire early childhood team and talk about how we can obviously correct and amend that. So it obviously looks like the majority of our pre-K students that are receiving their support in gen ed are receiving a whole lot of IEP minutes, which they're not. So
what were the numbers like instead of
how many students?
Well, what the teachers were reporting, what were those numbers?
So their instructional minutes in our pre-K classroom is like 775 a week.
Okay.
So for example, like if you have a student who's receiving or has a goal, an academic goal in early literacy, and that teacher might be working on that goal 30 minutes a day or 15 minutes a day, they were coding it that they were receiving 775 minutes instead of just that 15 minutes. Does that make sense?
Which impacted this.
Huge impact. So for example, like if a student's in a co-taught classroom and they have a co-taught math classroom, that entire block of math, they're not working on that specific goal. So you wouldn't put all those instructional minutes as that. So that obviously accounts for a huge number.
So would that affect the funding? Like the numbers and the minutes and what you all were reporting?
So fortunately, we caught this, and obviously because we went down the year before too slightly, that we're still in our tier 1 category of needs assistance. We don't need a corrective plan, but it's also, that's not the only area or the only thing that we need to do when we're talking about, students receiving more gen ed. You know, we have a lot of early childhood classrooms that like all of their services are delivered in that educational environment. And as part of our subcommittee too, you know, starting from the ground, which is early childhood, we really want to talk about how we can find more opportunities for students with disabilities to be in the gen ed classroom. So that's another area like we want to target. So I anticipate that those numbers will be significantly different next year. So we've made the corrections now to some of the students and then met with our early childhood teams. I mean, we're also talking about our early childhood teams about pushing into gen ed, like some of our related service providers and providing some of, for example, like speech and language or occupational therapy, providing instead of pulling out, depending on the goals and objectives and if they can target. Obviously, if you have a little one and they have an articulation goal, you're not gonna go into an environment that's louder to deliver that type of service. But we really wanna make sure that we're providing like as much opportunities for students in gen ed to receive any type of service that they might need. Another area that was noted is indicator 5A, which is the least restrictive environment. So this is similar to our early childhood service delivery. So if you could see, the state target is 53%, last year was 54, and we're at 50 right now. So again, this has a lot to do, or is kind of some of the action items are tied into our subcommittee, or least restrictive environment. So again, finding more ways to provide students with disabilities support within the gen ed environment. You know, and I do have to give a shout out to Southeast and our we do have 3 of our special education classrooms over there, and our K-1 classroom. There were a couple kindergarten students, and I'll give a shout out to Miss Roman, who's actually the chair of the LRE, but she happened to be in a kindergarten classroom doing an observation of another student, but doing it during like a CKLA lesson, and really was thinking of how she was just in Miss Kandra's special education classroom. They are doing a lot of the same things. Why can't these students be in this gen ed classroom getting the same support? So there are 3 to 4 students now that are pushing into the gen ed classroom and receiving the same academic instruction. So, and that's something that we're looking at even in regards to our academic bridge subcommittee and our LRE committee, and like how we can kind of bridge that gap, scaffold some of that instruction. You know, our new curriculum, you know, is really back behind the science of reading, and teaching kids how to read, and we want to make sure that we're giving all of our students the best opportunities and on the curriculum that they deserve. So there's a lot of talk and a lot of work that we're doing, but these 2 areas are very similar and definitely addressed in our subcommittee work. So
can you explain what the 0 to 3 does it?
So that's the score. So a score of 0 means that we've gone down from the year before, at least by 1. Does that make sense? So the score of 0, so each year you've gotten a score, 3, 2, 1, and the 0 is that you've gone down 2 years in a row from the state target. So for example, like last year, so state target is 47 for the indicator 6A. I think that in 2021, we were at 30, and I think in 2020 we were at 31. So we went down last year and then we went down again. So we have a score of 0. Does that make sense?
So 0 means we need improvement because our score is decreased.
That's what I was just wondering.
2 years in a row.
The plain
Sorry.
version. Does it mean
last
actually
year-
what it looks like? 0 needs improvement,
Needs
3
improvement.
does not need
So
improvement.
last year
not need
in
improvement.
last year in 6A, we had a score of 1 because we went down This year we had a score of 0, unfortunately, because we went down 2 years in a row. We still, if you could click the last slide, like if you see our overall score, it's a 77%. So we're still at a tiered 1, but we need assistance. So it's nothing like mandatory. A lot of things that they recommend are like webinars and doing like more research in regards to least restrictive environment, doing more trainings for teachers. And again, a lot of what they recommend is like what we're tying into our subcommittee. So a lot of the resources that I've like found through the state or the state is recommending, I'm kind of like moving to the LRE committee who have already done like a number of things. And again, shout out to Southeast and like Miss Cindy Roman, Miss Vermeer, Kendra, and Jenna, kindergarten teacher, for finding opportunities, but that's really kind of what we're trying to do. They've also, like that committee itself has gone and done, I don't think they've touched each school yet, but done like staff presentations on least restrictive environment. They're doing a lot of research. Some of them are tying some of their personal goals for the year on like how to support, you know, Gen Ed teachers in like regards to scaffolding instruction and accommodations and modifications for students that have IEPs, so they could be more successful in Gen Ed. That makes sense. It's a lot. Does anyone have any questions?
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, Mr. Grossi, we are ready for you.
Hello.
Statement of expenditures last month, we're gonna start seeing some consistent just increases, salaries and benefits. Nothing really crazy outside of that. We've finalized our capital projects for the most part. There's a few touch-ups still need to be done. Don't really plan on having too much more for the summer projects out of that, but for the most part, salaries and benefits for this month. Revenues, we are not receiving revenues at the moment. One revenue that we did receive this month that I checked just to see is we received our first payment for CPPRT, which is roughly $200,000. And then I have been
Spell that out for me, please.
CPPRT,
Yes, I know that, but what does it mean?
so corporate personal property replacement taxes. Yeah, of course.
It wasn't an immediate like, oh yeah, that one, so, okay, thank you.
Also, the state has informed us they're gonna send out tax bills, hoping to start receiving money in December. So tax bills will come out in November, hopefully to receive in December, which is a little earlier than last year, so that's good. But outside of that, nothing crazy. And as a result, the fund balances went down a little bit, but I fully expect those to come right back up once we start receiving our tax revenues. Any questions? Sorry, I didn't have a lot this month.
Sometimes no news is good news, we'll take it, it's okay. It's not a budget, we don't need a special meeting in the meeting, we're good.
Only like 2 red numbers up there.
I know. The less red, the better, yes, we're good.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Eric.
Okay, board reports. So first up is board policy committee update, but we were also all here, so I don't mean to throw you two under the bus, but.
I know, I read it earlier and I'm like, oh wait, my name's on there.
My name's on there, I have to do what? No. Did you have a policy meeting in addition to our
No.
group meeting?
No.
Okay. Do you both want me to speak to what we did a week and a half ago?
Refund is pretty simple, right?
Go for it.
So basically, we met with representatives from the Illinois Association of School Boards. They offer a service that we currently now are a part of, which is called PRESS, which I did learn stands for Policy Reference Education Subscription Service by their brochure here, because I had no idea what it stood for.
Nice. It's on the agenda.
So basically, they offer 2 services. One is Press and one is Press Plus. The difference between the two is basically one supplies us with policy updates and things of that nature, samples of them, which we then can incorporate into our overall policies here. The second service pretty much is customized, where they are going to recommend, or they can do an overall change of all the policies at one time. If it's good, they'll monitor us, they update. It's more or less, hey, let us hold your hand, and we're gonna take all the heavy lifting off you, and we're gonna take care of it for you. Why do we need this meeting? currently the system we work with kinda is outdated. It's strenuous, it's a stress. If you ever been to the website and you tried to look up a policy, you have to look up a section, and then you have to guess maybe in the subsection if the policy you look for is in there, and it's all in PDF form. And from what I'm understanding, is when Sonia tries to update, she has to take out that section. She does the update on whatever it is, and then she has to rescan the whole entire section all over again and put it back in there again, which is just crazy. If you ever been to any of the more recent, for example, if you ever been to the Evergreen Park, the Village of Evergreen, they ordinance page. If you're looking for an ordinance that deals with loud music, you type in loud music, bam, you get the whole thing. I mean, it's all, you know, decorated and dedicated. So that's what Press and Press Plus is. That was our current issue. We're gonna solve that by taking a deep dab into the current policies we have now. So representative came out, we went over each and every policy that amazingly we had and we did not know we had. Some that was a little bit, you know, out of ordinary, like what do we need that policy for? And some that we noticed that we really need to pay attention to. That was meeting one of several meetings that we're going to have. So what they're gonna do is they're gonna deliver a rough draft in a couple of months. It's gonna take a minute. We're going to then sit down and review that rough draft, and then we're gonna go over each policy that needs to stay as it is, needs to be changed, altered, or absolutely deleted altogether. And that's pretty much what it is. It's a benefit for the school board, it's a benefit for all the administrative staff, but it's a benefit for the parents, which is most important. So if they have a question of what our policy is, they can go type in bullying, and it's gonna give them every single policy that we have on bullying, what it referenced to, and the reason, you know, why the policy is there. So we feel it's a service that it was needed, we discussed it, we came to it, we met on it, and we geared up to do it. That is the report.
Yes, it was a great, thank you. And so David and Rachel are already the policy committee along with Dr. Woodland. So they get double duty right now, right? So they'll still be meeting in the old way, which is a lot of
You said
paper.
we didn't have to.
Ooh, yay,
You said the
okay.
fall packet could go into
The new updates.
customization,
Oh, that's
which
great.
is fabulous.
But it really is a long time coming, and it helps everybody. I go to look for policies, like to support what's on our agenda. If I can't find stuff, like, no, we've gotta make it more user friendly for every stakeholder that needs to look something up, so.
Exciting. Awesome.
So, thank you.
You're welcome.
Ms. Jones, CASPA.
Yes, CASPA
Yes.
was very exciting, very informative, and I was just eager to learn when I attended the conference. The conference was from September 25th through the 27th in Washington, D.C. CASPA is the Consortium of State School Board Association. It is a nonpartisan natural alliance dedicated to sharing resources and information to support, promote, and strengthen state school boards associations as they serve the local school districts and board members. With membership in 25 states, CASPA advocates for federal education policies impacting local school board and public education aligned with its core values, including robust federal investments. So I attended CASPA, of course, that Monday, the very first day. We had registration as well as an open reception / meet and greet. And there I was able to meet a lot of people, a lot of board members from Michigan, South Carolina, of course, Illinois, Mississippi, Alabama, Florida, like 25 states, yes. Majority of the states, I think they said maybe about 11, 15 states were there representing CASPA. I was also happy to know that when I said Evergreen Park District 124, they knew us in Washington, D.C. So I was happy to know that. It was very exciting to hear that they were aware of our district and they knew we were an elementary school district. On day 2, they took very good care of us. We had general sessions basically all day. The general sessions were designed to prepare us, the constituents, to meet the U.S. representatives and senators the following day on Capitol Hill. So they had a bunch of congressional staff members from Capitol Hill to come and talk to us in regards to our presentation when we went to speak with the representative, or congressmen, congresswomen, and we only had a short amount of time to pitch, our request. So we had to do a little study, we had to listen and take a lot of notes. But it was very informative to know that that they were concerned, like, with districts across the United States, of course. They had some of the funding requests were for and or support was for child nutrition programs, broadband connectivity and E-rate, increased federal funding for K-12 education, supporting funding for individuals with disabilities Education Act, which is why I kind of asked Becky the questions that I did ask, because I request for funding.
Denise had her funding talking points.
Always funding, and I specifically said Evergreen Park District 124 needs the fund for A, B, C, and D. There were also supporting requests for teachers and principal training and recruitment, Title II, prioritizing K-12 public education as schools of choice. The members reiterated that this was CASBA is a non-partisan group, and they had presenters from both sides. I had the opportunity to speak with, be one of the constituents to speak to Congressman Jonathan Jackson. And of course, I wanted to hit him hard and give him everything we needed for Evergreen Park, but they had other representatives for other districts as well, and again, we only had a limited amount of time. So I spoke for in regards to support for K-12 education. K-12 education funding also includes the IDEA, and it also includes the child nutrition program, which is why I tried to speak in regards to that one, so I can kind of collaborate all in one. But I did the K-12 education funding. This increased the funding for Title I. It will allow schools to quickly address for Title I would allow schools to quickly address and overcome the achievement gap and disparities exacerbated by COVID-19. It will also increase in Title IV funding to help solve additional health challenges schools are addressing, especially those in mental health. Of course, in my pitch, like I said, also I spoke to him in regards to IDEA, the Individuals with the Disabilities Education Act. This act was signed into law in 1975 and governs special education services to students across the country. Congress passed a law to ensure all students have access to a free, appropriate public education in a least restrictive environment. Of course, a lot of us were back and forth with our superintendents. I was one of them, to try to get numbers and information.
Jenna, I got 10 minutes. What should I say?
Yep. And so a lot of districts, they were doing that. And one of the things that we were asking funding for was for 40%, and the 40% that was promised to every school district for the IDEA. Evergreen Park receives approximately 20% of the funding for IDEA. I spoke with Congressman Jackson, asking for full funding, which is 40%. The federal government promised with students with disabilities to fully meet the goals contained in IDEA. So he was not aware that his name was not on the list to agree with the funding, and he said he definitely agreed with funding for IDEA, as well as the K through 12 education and the Child Nutrition Act. We were also scheduled to meet with Congresswoman Tammy Duckworth, U.S. State Senator Dick Durbin, and Brad Schneider. Tammy Duckworth and Senator Durbin, they were in the they had just voted the night before and went to 12:30 in the morning in regards to the government shutdown, so they were not available. We spoke to their staffers, and their staffers stated they are in full support with the K through 12 IDEA and Child Nutrition Program. We were also present with Brad Schneider. There were some representatives from Highland Park, where they had the mass shooting out there. And so those constituents represented Highland Park spoke with Brad Schneider in regards to supporting their area with the same funding, in which he also agreed that he support them as well. As a group, we spoke to the chief of staff to increase funding for teacher and principal training and recruitment, Title II, broadband security and E-rate, and child nutrition programs. All the representatives were in support of these programs. We spoke about appropriation and how Congress hadn't passed the budget in a year. We were prepared for the responses, but continued with the request and left information about CASBA, and I was able to leave information about District 124. The next annual conference is scheduled for February 22nd through the 25th, 2024 in Dallas, Texas. So it was a great event. Besides walking from House to Senate, which takes about 20 or 30 minutes.
Capitol Hill they keep talking about.
We were able to walk through the Capitol, and they had a staff member to take us through the tunnel. We got on, I think I showed you all the picture of the railroad ride.
The photos from this, I know, right?
And I thought about giving them to Dan so that, I could show them, but.
She was rubbing elbows with all kinds of people.
Yeah, it was really, really nice.
Thank you for doing that.
So we're looking forward to seeing them, a lot of my new friends, Triple I. The Triple I, so they'll be there. It was really, 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 really nice.
And again, thank you for realizing that and also being willing to go
Oh, thank you.
and representing us and Illinois.
Yes, thanks for supporting me on this trip.
Yeah.
It's for the district. And
Photos.
And I'm just happy that they're well aware of our Evergreen Park, this district. I think as long as we're in, the name is there, right, Amanda? As long as our name is there and they recognize us, we could get some, when it's time for fun.
The money, I like the money.
Our name will be there, right? Right,
Eric?
Eric?
Eric's smiling behind Amanda, like, yes, you're in.
Eric, like, yeah. Yep, so, thank you.
Thank you. My goodness. Okay, I don't know how I'm gonna follow that, but I'm gonna follow that. District review team. Since you just talked about CASPA, I will talk about DIRT. We did have a meeting this month. We did not have one last month, but we can't rest on our laurels. We did have a meeting for October. There were only 3 issues though, which I still consider a good thing. So the first issue was regarding an honor roll before the end of the first quarter specifically, as a way to increase incentive for students to achieve. So there was a really great conversation that commenced regarding that. We don't currently have an honor roll, but there's multiple people here that were also at that meeting on Monday. And the discussion was when to start it. So Dr. Woodland offered to speak to all 5 buildings principals, because certainly at the middle school, but also where should that begin? and thinking of vertical articulation with the high school and knowing that if they have an honor roll, like preparing our students, you guys have accelerated classes and we don't, but
We agreed on some
Jenny,
sterling.
yeah, and Jenny Craig had mentioned that Power School makes the school rank easy when it's a number. And so it was a good conversation, and I appreciate someone bringing that up as an idea to help our students to, you know, motivate them to achieve. Right, always a good idea. So more will be, I'm sure, coming out about that. Number 2 is about tech. So knowing that this question about technology department was on the agenda, Dr. Woodland had reached out and found out some more things about that before the meeting on Monday. And there was a question about technology tickets and then prioritizing, you know, teacher requests over student requests and things like that. So she was able to report out on the current status and where that was already going, already improving. It also sparked more conversations about other things with technology, specifically at Central Middle School and covers.
Yes.
Yes. And so we also learned more about that already, and Dr. Woodland shared that information with the team today. That we did have an answer, and that if budget allows, perhaps we can improve the covers on all of the devices. So there's not some who have really snazzy ones and some that don't have snazzy ones. I think that was that? There was a lot that we covered on that one. And it was, again, I always appreciate the conversation. I appreciate the excellent leadership that we have from that. So thank you, Mrs. O'Connor. And so, yeah, it was a good conversation. And then issue number 3 was regarding why are band students taken out of specials only. Diving a little bit deeper in there, it was really the 5th grade students, because 6th through 8th, it's a class. So it wouldn't necessarily, it really impacts the 4 elementary school buildings and only 5th grade band students. The directive for the principals was to schedule the pull-out services for band students. Obviously, they need to be pulled out of something to make space in their schedule for that, and so they've been pulled out of specials, but the specials teachers were concerned that if the student misses too much of that, it's hard to give a grade, right? So completely justifiable. I'm actually gonna read the report from Sonia today. So the directive was to prioritize academics, and that if possible, and parents know this, as a parent of band students for many years, I did know that, right? I knew that there would have to be some, you know, give or take. And so parents know that and students know that, but how to properly, you know, give credit if the students aren't in that class is still the question. So that will also continue the conversation, but at least we got the why does it happen and the fact that it was on purpose, but how else can we also support those students and those specials teachers that are trying to teach their students, right? So we should be able to respect both of those. So Denise and I were both there, and our next meeting is November 27th, right after Thanksgiving, so.
Add something to that, with
Certainly.
student motivation.
Yes.
I recently was in the new Amazon store, and they have a Krispy Kreme inside. And a little boy, he had to be maybe 8, 9 at the most. He walked up to the Krispy Kreme counter and he said, I saw on social media that you all give a free donut for every A that a student receives. So she said, well, yeah, where's your report card? So he reached in his pocket, he gave the folded up paper to her.
Oh my God.
She opened it up, she said, okay, you get 6 donuts. And she gave him 6 donuts. I had no idea this happens.
Wow.
So,
I love that.
as in student motivation, this might be something we can tap into because, hey,
Yeah.
Wow.
classes can compete, or however you want it to be, because the reward is coming from Krispy Kreme.
Great.
Just
More
put it out there, just in case you all
donuts?
didn't know. I actually Googled it, and that's what they do. It's a
But then they
policy.
might be like, oh wait, we're giving out way too many donuts.
Well, hey,
And
it's
we
their
will
policy.
be named
Yes.
as the district that broke the bank.
Yeah. They have some smart kids over in Evergreen Park, right?
We're all out.
Hey, honor roll and or donuts. I think we're onto something. And why not, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, he was
that's amazing.
no more than 8. It was really like a sweet moment. I stopped and like, huh?
him.
Free donuts? What? You know, you want to go home and get your kids' old report cards. Like, hey.
Oh, I like
That's
that.
awesome.
That's awesome. Cool. Donuts, gotta love it. How do we share that one?
I don't know, but hey, it's
I
out there,
think
so
we
maybe we can
should.
start thinking of something creative.
That is that's remarkable.
It's simple,
Tomorrow
baby.
on our
Right.
Facebook page. Just saying. Just saying.
Gets a quick call from Krispy Kreme.
What's that? Yeah, I know.
CEO.
We're live streaming this meeting, right? Like, okay,
It's
we're
over
gonna get in
there.
big trouble later. I love that though. Isn't that
It was
right?
sweet. It was really sweet.
And we should be encouraging all of our students to do that. That's awesome. So next on the agenda is the resolution authorizing the commencement of social media litigation. So we've been talking about this as a board talked about it and then we stepped away and then we talked about it again in closed session at our last board meeting. So unfortunately, I have to read through this very long resolution also. But we're gonna read through this now and then we're actually gonna vote on it. It's one of our agenda items for voting a little later. So I am going to read this. So this is a resolution authorizing commencement of social media litigation. Well, I'll just read it and see if it explains itself.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I'll explain more if I need to. So whereas in recent years, the proliferation of and widespread access to and use of social media among public school students has expanded dramatically, leading to significant risks of anxiety, depression, thoughts of self-harm, and suicidal ideation among students. Whereas students attending Evergreen Park Elementary School District number 124, the district, have been part of this phenomenon by engaging with social media in school and on school grounds in addition to outside of school. Whereas the district's students' widespread adoption, consumption, and use of social media has caused the district to incur costs in the form of staff time, disciplinary proceedings, emotional and social counseling, medical services, and other costs, with the expectation that these costs will only increase unless and until student use of social media is reduced or the social media platforms reform their practices in attracting students. Whereas the district has become aware of litigation against Meta Platforms Incorporated, Facebook Holdings LLC, Snap Inc., TikTok Inc., Alphabet Inc., and other parties responsible for the creation, design, marketing, and proliferation of social media platforms, with this litigation now involving more than 335 U.S. public school districts across more than 11 states and being led by the France Law Group, APLC of California. And whereas the Board of Education of the district has determined that it is necessary, advantageous, desirable, and in the public interest and the best interests of the district that it participate in this litigation by filing a lawsuit seeking monetary and non-monetary damages against the above referenced social media companies and other parties responsible for the harm caused by social media platforms by approving the attorney-client fee contract with France Group, attached like Exhibit A, with the law firm of Franzik PC acting as local co-counsel for the district. Now therefore be it resolved by the Board of Education of Evergreen Park Elementary School District number 124, Cook County, Illinois, as follows: the board finds that all the recitals contained there above are true and correct and that the same are hereby incorporated herein by reference. The board authorizes the filing of a lawsuit against Meta Platforms Inc., Facebook Holdings LLC, Snap Inc., TikTok Inc., Alphabet Inc., and other parties consistent with the recitals set forth above. The contract is hereby approved insubstantially the form reviewed by a board of, it's attached Exhibit A, together with such minor modifications as are deemed necessary by the board's attorneys and administrators to protect the best interests of the district. The president and the secretary are hereby authorized to sign and enter into the contract on behalf of this district, and that will be dated today. That was a whole lot of words. So Franzik, who is one of the law firms that we use, is involved in this mass litigation against the social media platforms that have attracted youth, and they shouldn't, and they need to change their practices. We are not going to pay for these services. Frantic is doing it on the behalf of us and many other districts. There's actually many districts that have adopted this already, and we are choosing to do so now. When we discuss this in closed session, what we would really like to see is behavior change on the behalf of these different companies, to be more responsible for our students and our youth. So that's the answer. So we'll be, like I said, we've been talking about this for a couple months, and we will be signing this today, and Frantic will add our name to the list of other school districts that are involved, and we will proceed. Okay. I'm not reading any more long stories, I promise. Well, and yet we're gonna do delegate assembly, so. Okay, all right, so delegate assembly as part of the conversation when we talk about policy, right? So David just reported out on policy. So one of the things that the district does and all other 850 plus districts in the state are invited to do is to come together as the delegate assembly at our conference in November. And there's a delegate from each school board or school district that is invited, and I am that delegate for this this district. And so what we do is we come together and we vote on what we want the IASB to move forward with in policy and lobbying, and what legislation we would like to see as the all of us speaking together. So I sent you guys a very long email. Does anybody, I know, especially our new folks, does anybody have questions on how it all works? I've stunned you into silence. It was a long email. Okay. So they've refined the process a lot in recent years, which is great. So they actually exclude some things right off the bat, not because they're not worthy, but because they're probably already law or similar to policies that already exist. So those are kind of deleted immediately. There are also a few that are, they don't bring forward, and so really it's the 5 things, the 5 issues that will be, and in years past it's been like 18. So I'm really happy that it's only 5 this year. So the 5 issues that we are being asked to vote on, so I just put it in an email and we'll talk about it briefly. You don't have to tell me this time around. It's to think about it, and then our next board meeting is 2 days before conference. And so we can come together and you all can give me how you would choose for me to vote on each of these 5 resolutions. And we do that in this meeting. And then I am prepared when I go there to vote how you want me to vote. Okay. So the first one is industrial construction. The proposal asks that laws be created that prohibit the construction of industrial facilities near schools, citing health and safety, learning outcomes, etc. Now, the resolution committee recommends do not adopt because they feel this decision should remain under local control. The whole point of this and us talking about this is you can advise me by a quorum to say, yes, we still want to adopt it, or we can go along with what they say. Okay, so they advise to adopt or not to adopt, but we still get to vote how we want to vote. Okay, so and you have all of this in that lengthy, I tried to sum it up, sorry guys. Number 2 is school resource officer funding. Obviously and necessarily, student safety has been a recurring theme in proposals in recent years. We've been doing a lot of those in recent years. And the proposal reads, the IASB shall request that the Illinois legislature consider legislation providing educational funding to all school districts to offset the cost of an SRO. So in recent years, we've talked about how it's hard to staff SRO positions in larger districts downstate or rural districts downstate. We can afford it, some districts cannot afford it. And so I really appreciate delegate assembly because we've been talking about this for many years. I think we all can agree that it's a need. So the resolutions committee recommends do adopt. Y'all can tell me how you feel about that next month. Number 3 doesn't necessarily affect Evergreen Park. It's about bus driver regulations, but I read it and I was like, wow, I had no idea. And so that's what also happens in delegate assembly is these resolutions might be something that we're voting on even if they don't affect us. And so we really have to consider all the other districts in the state and what kind of things there. It's a very interesting process. I love the process. So who knew? But apparently things used to be local. They used to be able to do local training and testing for candidates, and that changed in February. And so in the time of a bus driver shortage, they made it more difficult to hire and train bus drivers. So the proposal says, can we please go back to the way it was? That's pretty much what they're asking for. So it doesn't affect us, but it certainly does affect others. Dr. Woodland has said that some of her superintendent conversations, like the listservs, and it is a problem for so many other districts. Yeah, and there's statistics in the packet that I'm not quoting here. But I did appreciate the comment, why then, when there is a national shortage of bus drivers, are we making the process for licensing them much more complicated and out of reach for schools? And if somebody, this is the law, if somebody trains a bus driver, every bus driver they train, if that other bus drivers that they trained were ever in an accident, they are held responsible. So nobody wants to train, thank you, nobody wants to train anybody anymore because if anybody's ever in an accident, the trainer is responsible forever.
Yeah.
20 years later.
So resolution committee says please do adopt, so there you go. But these are the things that come up, and again, they don't affect us, but obviously they affect all of us. Employment history review, this was interesting. And the other part of this is I will be attending a webinar and you're all invited to do the same. It's on Halloween at noon.
Oh, yeah.
Why? I do not know, but that's okay because they're recorded, so you can always go back and listen to it. Yeah, 10:31, noon. I'm like, okay, great. So we will hear about all of this from the IASB, so I will be interested to hear more about this. So the employment history review, they're not saying we shouldn't do it, but they're saying that maybe it shouldn't be DCFS and CANS using their database. So the IASB, the proposal says the IASB shall request the Illinois legislature consider using the Illinois Department of Child and Family Services Child Abuse and Neglected Tracking System as a means to fulfill employment history review of phase law. And they say please don't adopt because they're not saying we shouldn't do that. They're saying that's not the right vehicle. So, and I will learn more. I know.
I don't know what other vehicle they're gonna use.
Yeah.
That's my other part,
Yeah.
like if there isn't somebody else, so
What are they using?
I hope to learn more.
Okay.
So there you go. The furrow in the brow, David, that's exactly why I'm like,
Yeah.
okay. And then 5th is alternative safe school funding. So this is short one, but it reflects some of our current challenges, so I'm sharing it all, it's really short. The IASB shall, so the proposal read, the IASB shall advocate for additional funding to be provided for regional alternative safe schools to allow for an elementary approved program, additional funding and approved certification programs for board certified behavioral analysts, BCBA, in school districts, and additional flexibility with student discipline to help districts provide the safest learning environment possible. We also ask that the state legislature review SB 100 and make necessary changes to allow more local control as it relates to student discipline post-COVID. All districts are observing an increase in immature and aggressive behaviors in students, especially at elementary and middle school levels post-COVID. Local districts are doing the best they can with the resources available, but are not equipped to handle the rise in these student characteristics. The state has increased funding, awareness, and resources to address SEL, but not for these specific characteristics or concerns. So they actually recommend that we do not adopt this, but again, we get to choose however we want. Because they said it already exists. They already state that we'll advocate for funding for these certain things. And they've already recommended a possible review of SB 100. So I hope to learn more about that one as well. It is, I thought it was, like I said, it pertains to us as well, but, so planting those seeds, and we can have a greater conversation about it at our next meeting, and you all can tell me how you would like me to vote. Okay, now I'm done reading things. Thank you. So it's also, public comments is after board reports this time. Do we have any public comments? Okay. On to our action, do I still have to read it?
Yes.
I keep telling you I'm done, guys, and then I'm not. So, but as we've been reading at every board meeting, right? So, when it comes to public comments, a few reminders specifically about the logistics for the public comment portion of every meeting, including this evening, as is posted on our agenda publicly for every meeting. To respect all of our stakeholders, our commenters, our board, our public, we adhere very closely to the 3-minute limit for comments for everyone. We will set a timer and we expect everyone to respect their 3 minutes. In addition, we do not respond in public comments at board meetings, but we do hear them, we respect them, and we listen to and take into account all of the concerns. If there's specific questions we can respond to, we will in a timely manner. Now, we're on to action items. Okay. Consent agenda item A is to number 1, approve the monthly transaction reports for September of 2023. Number 2 is to approve the fund balance reports for September 2023. Number 3 is to approve the expenditure report and projected payroll report for October of 2023. Number 4 is to approve board minutes for the regular meeting of September 20th, 2023, sorry. Number 5 is to approve the closed session minutes from the regular meeting of September 20th, 2023. Number 6 is to approve the board minutes from the special meeting on October 5th, 2023. Number 7 is to approve destruction of closed session tapes from June of 2019. And number 8 is to accept the personnel recommendations listed on the agenda, FMLA resignation and to retire and resignations. If I could have a first motion to approve our consent agenda item A.
Motion to approve consent agenda item A.
Thank you. Excellent. And a roll call, please.
Yes. Michael Thomas?
Yes.
Michael Allmiller?
Yay.
Denise Jones, yes. Rachel Merrickwin?
Yes.
David Shepherd?
Yes.
Lauren Dowden?
Yes.
Colleen Clemzak?
Yes.
Motion passed.
Thank you. Item B is to approve the resolution authorizing commencement of social media litigation as read recently. If I could have a first motion, please.
I'll make the motion.
Thank you. And a second.
Second.
Thanks. And a roll call.
Rachel Merrickwin?
Yes.
Michael Thomas?
Yes.
Lauren Dowden?
Yes.
David Shepherd?
Yes.
Denise Jones, yes. Mike Wallmiller?
I just want to say how important I think it is that even if no dollars come out of this, that's really secondary. This is really truly about trying to protect our children. We've seen the proliferation of social media, what it does to our kids, what it does to adults.
Yeah.
The social, emotional impact of it. You hear some of these tragedies about bullying going too far or body images or whatever. These algorithms are steering content to vulnerable minds. That's what I want to see. I don't care if we get dollars out of it. That would be sweet. I'm not saying I'd turn it down, Eric. We really need to see some accountability.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yay.
Yay. Colleen Clemzak?
Yes.
Motion passed.
Excellent. And thank you, Michael. Absolutely. Item number C is to approve the second reading and adoption of revised board policy 5310 as recommended by the board policy committee. If I could have a first motion, please.
Motion to approve.
Excellent. And a second.
Second.
Man, you guys are busy on this,
It's the Michaels.
on this side, wow, okay. And a roll call, please.
Michael Thomas?
Yes.
Michael Wamiller?
Yay.
Lauren Dowden?
Yes.
David Shepherd?
Yes.
Rachel Merrickwin?
Yes.
Denise Jones, yes. Colleen Clemzak.
Yes.
Motion passed.
Excellent, all right. So, we will now recess to closed session to discuss the appointment, employment, compensation, discipline, performance, or dismissal of specific employees of the district or legal counsel for the district, including hearing testimony on a complaint lodged against an employee or against legal counsel for the district to determine its validity. Whew. We will not be taking action on anything after our closed session. And we will not be continuing the live stream. If y'all wanna stick around, go ahead, but it's not very exciting. So thank you all for being here, and we will recess at 7:42. We have to vote for that? We don't have to vote. All in favor? There we go. Yay, okay.